Hi everyone, welcome back to American Trinity University on our series on reconciling science and religion. And these are small clips and we move them along rather quickly. So we call them Let's Talk, Let's Talk. All right, entropy. Entropy, I'm going to keep it simple. Entropy is, we'll start simple. Entropy, I think, is a breakdown. It's a breakdown of systems. Okay? The anthropic principle is a buildup. Okay? That's keeping it very, very simple. This is based on the second law of thermodynamics. And the second law of thermodynamics basically is the measure of work lost, W, in a system. Now, obviously, they were talking about pressures and tubes and the fact that things are lost no matter how sealed the system is. And now you have to think of the world, the universe, as a system and that things break down. Now, the anthropic is a buildup. Now, to say that this is successful, that this really happens, we don't have direct proof. We have mathematical proof. This genius named Fred Hoyle, he comes along and he says, I can mathematically show that entropy has to happen. Anthropic principle has to exist in order for the world to be created. So he does this beautiful math, which, by the way, gets him a Nobel Prize. But what he tries to do is he's got to get to carbon-12. Carbon-12 is the basis of humans, right? So to get to carbon-12, you got to have enough collisions in the formation of the universe that for this to happen, you have to have helium, and you have to have helium-4 in a triple collision in order to get the element beryllium. And beryllium will lead you to carbon-12. So it's shown mathematically. Now, the problem here is, is that entropy has been proven, it's been used. It's a basic thing that every kid who goes through Physics 1 has to understand as the second law of thermodynamics, the idea that work is lost in a system. Fred Hoyle, on the other hand, a bunch of people get together and said, well, mathematically it's proven, and if you think about it, that's all Einstein had. All we had was the proof that Einstein, had a mathematical formula. It took years before we saw light bend around the sun before they proved his theory right. So Fred Hoyle, although we don't have a proven theory yet, we have a beautiful mathematical formula that shows. Now, why is that important? Well, let's go through it. We got to do a little Darwinism here. Ready? Okay, so let's start in the beginning. Okay, so we got one cell, right? One cell animals. So how does a cell evolve? So a cell goes, well, why don't we try to be a really big one cell animal? Well, that doesn't really work well. So why don't we group it? Why don't we take a bunch of cells, get them to do specific things, and put them together in a system? Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to get a little Darwinism here. Okay, that's how we get birds. We literally go from fish to something that goes on the land to something that flies. So here we go. We're up to fish. So now all of a sudden, there you are, right? Oh yeah, you're just all happy. You're strong. You might even be working out, going to the gym, running, happy. But what's the rest of the picture look like? Okay, well, then all of a sudden, old age sets in, and we're kind of looking more and more like this. And then all of a sudden, unfortunately, the end comes, and here we are. It's over. Rest in peace. So, there's the circle of life. We started with single cell, multiple cells went here. We were created, and that we started to break down. Now, okay, question, and this is why I have trouble with the scientists who are all jumping on the entropy versus the anthropic principle, which the Christians are jumping on to say, well, there has to be a creator in order to get to you. Yeah, how did we get to this? That's a buildup of a system. It's not a breakdown of a system. So in other words, we're building up. And we have Hole saying, hey, look, we got this anthropic principle and we're building up. Now, there's all kind of arguments in there as to whether you really did fully evolve. But I mean, really, how did we go from here to here and from here to here? Once the system breaks down, isn't it over? But we don't. We keep recreating. So there has to be a bigger question. Scientists are going to have to deal with this eventually. If everything breaks down, then how did our cells create us? I'm not saying this proves that there's a God, but what I am saying is you can't rule it out. There may have been an intelligent act behind the anthropic principle.